Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing another Walking Dead video for today after that huge season finale for The Walking Dead Season 8. In this one, we're going to be kind of giving our thoughts on Season 8 as a whole, placing it in comparison to other seasons, answering the questions whether or not it was the best season they've done yet, and where we would put it on the list of The Walking Dead's best seasons. And spoiler warning, if you guys have not seen The Walking Dead up to current date, which is up to the finale for The Walking Dead Season 8. So if you haven't seen The Walking Dead series in its entirety. So I love to do these type of videos. They're some of my absolute favorite ones to do. It's probably because I'm partially anal when it comes to Walking Dead episodes and Walking Dead seasons. And I, for some reason, feel the need or feel a drive to always sort and kind of give my thoughts on which seasons of The Walking Dead are the best and which ones, are not that good. So comparing the most recent season to prior seasons, where do we place it? How does The Walking Dead Season 8 stack up now that it's over compared to our prior seasons of the series? So I think right away, easy to say straight off the bat here, The Walking Dead Season 8 is a step up from Season 7, I think. Even though Season 7 had an incredible start, I don't think we can really say that Season 7 was as good as Season 8. I think Season 8 did a lot more than Season 7 did. Even though Season 7 was off to an incredible start there with the premiere, it quickly fizzled out, and you had, the viewership for the episodes going from like 17 to around 11 or 12-ish, and then kind of finishing off the season at around 11-ish. Now, in terms of ratings, let's say also here too that Season 8 was not received well in terms of interest or casual fan viewership for the ratings, where they literally went from the beginning of the season from 11.45, so around the same level as where they finished off in Season 7. About the same amount of people came back to see the premiere for Season 8 as watched the finale for Season 7, and they pretty quickly dwindled down here to where in the back half we got down to the 6s, which has been unseen since the second season of the series, which is really crazy to see. Nevertheless, though, I mean, in terms of All Out War and in terms of what they did for The Walking Dead Season 8, they brought a lot of action this season. I mean, there was a lot of back and forth fighting. We pretty much go, and we'll do a more in-depth review for Season 8 after I watch the entire season through again. But basically, you start off the season, we have the battling going in Mercy, where the survivors seem to have the upper hand. They attack the sanctuary. We get all this different fighting of really, this part feels like a war. If any part of the series felt like a war, the start to Season 8 certainly does. Mercy, the damned, monsters, and some guy. You have the stuff with the Kingdom and Ezekiel there. You have Morales returning, which we never thought they would ever do, so that was kind of a treat for your hardcore fans who had been clamoring for him to be somewhere, be somebody, and they ended up doing it, which was really cool. It also fit into place pretty well because the Saviors had so many freaking people. And, they had lots of Saviors that we hadn't met before in the prior season that just kind of came out of the woodwork, especially if you look at this last battle. It's like, really, they still have that many Saviors left? So it fit in really nicely. Then they went with the Saviors escaping, with Eugene kind of being on the Savior's side. And this season, Season 8, really was an important season for Eugene. He really got to show his worth this season. He got to show how valuable he can be to bigger communities, right? I mean, in The Big Scary You, he helps the Saviors escape, so he's kind of, we're not sure which side he's on. Is he full-blown Savior Eugene? And right up until the end, they keep us guessing until the end of the season when we find out that he was, but now he realizes that the survivors are really his guys, and he's got to go for Rick, and he's got to go for the others, and he rigs the bullets, and as we saw in the finale there, Eugene comes to the rescue, and really he's probably the unsung hero of this whole war. When you think about it, in the end, he was responsible for all of the Savior's weapons backfiring, and Rick and the others being able to just easily take that battle, whereas otherwise they could have easily lost that, considering Negan had the higher ground. He had what seemed like more people, and if the bullets were proper, then he would have had the higher amount of ammunition too. So we have all these different things happening. Mid-season finale, of course, there was the huge death there with Carl that was unexpected for the season. It was something that none of us thought they were going to do. They went with a very unpredictable death there. And Honor, when they came back from the mid-season premiere, was one of the most emotional episodes they've ever done of the series. And I might say for me, could be around the highlight of the season. But I kind of have to go with, also with that one, I got to go with kind of the key and Don't Send Us Astray. Those two episodes there, 12 and 13, were surprisingly extremely well done considering they're kind of mid-space episodes, so they're not like a finale or a premiere. But the fight between Rick and Negan there, that's got to be for me. So the emotional side of the Carl death in episode 9, and then also in terms of the action, the highlight of All Out War for me has to be the fight there between Rick and Negan in the Key. I mean, I love this. This one was absolutely fantastic. After Carl had been killed, and then to see this actual fight here was, man, that was really cool. That was one of the best. Yeah, that might be the highlight of All Out War for me. So going from there, you get to Do Not Send Us Astray, which was a really well-written episode. Still got to mean something. Also amazing. And then Worth with the final fight between Simon and Negan, which was also very epic. And then the finale, which was, I feel like, pretty decent, but it didn't have like the most over-the-top action. It ended up being more of like a drama twist type of episode and kind of more focused on our characters to wrap things up. But, I mean, they had a lot of action throughout. So for them to not have as much action in the finale and to kind of just wrap things up in a different kind of way with Eugene switching back and everything, it was pretty. For some people, it was disappointing. I did a video on that, but I felt like it was satisfying enough considering we had so much action throughout the season. And it brings into question: do we really need to see some huge additional battle? I kind of wanted to, but it's okay that they didn't go with it. I still felt like it was a pretty good cap off to the season. It wasn't terrible, that's for sure, but it left some people wanting a little bit more in the way of kind of a final kind of Negan versus Rick battle. But really, the way they did it, we kind of got that earlier on. So there's kind of a quick recap. We'll go into more detail when we do an actual review of the season, go through and score it and everything like that. But comparing it to the other seasons, so that was a lot of stuff they did this season. This is probably, I would say, most likely, and I can't speak for the people involved with producing the series here, but I would guess this was probably the hardest season of The Walking Dead they ever had to make. I would think that Season 8 was probably more difficult to make than Season 7 or 6 or 5 or any of the prior seasons. The amount of fighting they had to do, the amount of action sequences. Like if you look at the finale there with the backfire, I mean literally that one scene, which literally took up like a minute of screen time maybe, it probably was like so insanely hard to do just by itself, and that literally is just like 1 minute of actual footage of the episode. It was so quick, but to actually produce that probably would have been really hard to do. And there was so much stuff they did this season that was like, man, they must have worked their asses off for this season. I don't think we can ignore that. They went for it this season. They tried their absolute best, it seems like to me, to bring us as much action with this war and as much fighting throughout rather than a too far gone situation where you have just one episode where it's all packed in and the rest of the season is like, leading up to that and then a big payoff. This was like, no, they decided instead of doing a big payoff at the end, they would have the fighting all throughout and we would get to see it all throughout the season as we go through these episodes. So in a nutshell, that's Season 8, right? So how does that stack up to the others? So I put it higher than Season 7. I think it's easily better than Season 7, even though I don't think Season 7 is as bad as it gets a really bad rap after the premiere, but I don't know if it's as bad as people kind of make it out to be. I think a lot of it has to do with the show being on so long too, right? But I will put Season 8 ahead of Season 7. Season 6, you guys know if you've seen my videos, if you've been subscribed to the channel for a while, Season 6 is my favorite season of The Walking Dead ever. The zombie herd was just unbelievable. We had JSS, we had Thank You with Glenn and the others, and it also had one of my favorite Survivor rosters, because you still had Glenn there, you still had Maggie and all the others, Michonne and everybody like that. You had Morgan coming back, which was really cool because I was kind of fresh and new at that time. And then you had the trickle in of Negan and the Saviors with the back half, where it was kind of it was so highly anticipated to wait to see Negan, because if you'd have been reading the comics, this Negan is just this awesome character and everything. And despite how you feel about the TV series version now, after a couple years, because at that time it was super fresh, and it was like, things were changing, things were happening rapidly. They were going through a lot of content from the comics pretty quickly. You had Dwight coming in, you had Daryl was still, I want to say Daryl's become a little bit more, Daryl was more kind of a fan favorite at that time, I could say, back in season 6 than he is now. A lot of people are kind of burned out on Daryl a little bit right now, so it's what it is. But going through first half with a huge horde, no way out, and then wrapping things up with getting started with Negan. This was such a hype time for me for Walking Dead, and the viewers also reflected it really well as well too in terms of series interest. I can't put season 8 ahead of season 6 after that finale, even though I do recognize it was probably a lot more work for them to do season 8 with all the fighting all throughout and less concentration on the zombies. They were still there, which was good, but more of a concentration on Negan versus Rick and kind of how everything was going with that, and then also Carl throughout the fighting, Alexandra being bombed, and all the other stuff. When you go back and watch season 6 now, JSS and episodes like that, they don't seem like as much as they were at that time, probably because, again, we've seen so many episodes of the show, they've done so much with it, but at the time when it first hit, I mean, these were some amazing episodes. No Way Out is like my all-time favorite, and I really love season 6. So I got to put season 6 ahead of it, even though I recognize that a lot of you guys probably will not be in that boat, right? What's the episode? The same boat? Episode 13. There you go. There's a nice tie-in. Season 5 is like the kingpin of The Walking Dead in terms of viewers. It has the highest average viewer ratings per episode of The Walking Dead. It starts off with No Sanctuary, which is in a lot of ways similar to the season 7 premiere. It's like 17 million, and it holds strong pretty much all throughout. It's like 15, 13, 14. So this season here, some of the things it did well and that really worked well for viewers is that they went through the Terminus, the Hunters, really quickly. So you went through that in a few episodes, and then they added in some other storylines. So one of the things I think Season 5 did really well, and probably why it was so well received, is you have multiple story arcs throughout the season. You have kind of a more rapid, faster paced type of story. So you start off on the road with the Terminus, the Hunters, you go into the Beth stuff in Atlanta, and Carol with it going into Dakota. What happened and what's going on with Tyrese and them and being on the road. Eventually they're getting to Alexandria and finishing the season off with the Peter story arc and Morgan returning and all that stuff. And he's kind of coming in throughout the season, which was, again, very fresh at that time to have Morgan come back because we hadn't seen him for quite a while. And it was really exciting. So season 5 might go down as the best season of the series, at least in terms of pop culture and kind of objective public opinion. I want to say if we're going to base it on anything and we look at the ratings and the interest that was around that time, it might be the best season of the series ever. So certainly I can't say season 8 is better than season 5. Season 4, I think we can make a case that season 8 is better than season 4. Granted, Too Far Gone was really great. A lot of people like the stuff with Joe and the Claimers and then being on the road. More of a survival horror type of feel in season 4, so it certainly wasn't bad. But they did so much stuff in season 8. Maybe I do have to put it above season 4. It's kind of tricky to say. There were some slow episodes in season 4 near the back half there. With the setup for Terminus, but there was a lot of episodes where they were just kind of walking around. I remember like Sasha walking and the others just kind of walking around, and it's pretty hard to compare that to season 8 when you see just the amount of stuff. Like you have a group of a few survivors walking around versus like this huge battle where you have literally hundreds of cast members and extras and different stories happening at once and all this craziness. It really does feel when you compare those two like they've kind of upped it, in a lot of ways when you look at the amount of people just involved, which some people may like, some people may not, but I'd still put it higher than that. Season 3 is a really great season, man. This season pumped the show. I mean, it went from like season 2 finished at 9 million to after season 3, 16 million people came back for season 4 start. So season 3 did a damn job. Again, very fast pacing. So one of the trends I'm seeing here is faster pacing seems to tend to help with series demand and series popularity. So when you have really fast pacing and you go through a lot of the comic stuff quickly, you can get kind of better results, it seems like, in terms of interest and kind of momentum and just overall appeal for the series. When you kind of slow things down, like we saw in season 7 and season 8, and you really take your time to go through those story arcs and you expand, it looks like, based on the series so far, that that's not always received well, even though I thought it worked out pretty well in season 8, and they did add in some stuff like killing Carl off, which was not in the comics. So that's an add-in, if you think about it. It's like, wow, that's an add-in? It's like, yeah, that's an add-in. So it's difficult to say. I mean, it's up to personal opinion here, I think, on this one, whether you like season 3 better than season 8. I think that season 3 had the advantage of it being so early on and them not having done that much. It didn't take that much to get a reaction out of the audience. So hard to say, man. In season 2 and season 1, same thing. Season 1 we can't compare because it was really only 6 episodes. And literally there's probably single episodes of season 8 that were maybe as difficult to make as the whole season in season 1. If you look at some of the episodes from the start there and just all the stuff we've seen in The Walking Dead season 8, I mean, a few episodes I guarantee would have been harder to make than just that whole season. So granted, they kind of did more with less there, and they had really great season 1, and it worked really well for the series to get people hooked to the series and it becoming the biggest series on cable for sure. Same with season 2. So for me, season 8, not the best season ever, but to be honest, it's like it's close. It's close to the top. I think it's one of the better seasons they've done, even though the viewership does not at all reflect that. I think a lot of that has to do with the series been so long running and the fact that they slowed All Out War down to use it for the whole season, even though they kind of had to do that based on the comics, unless they wanted to add in another story arc in there in the middle or afterwards and end Negan, like if you did a half or something. That's kind of tricky to say if that would have been better or not. But I think for sure it made sense based on what they went in with. And I'll put season 8 probably maybe like 3rd or 4th, and that's tricky to say. But I definitely put season 6 and 5 above it, and maybe season 3 as well too. It's tricky to say, man, because when you look back at season 3, I mean, it's so small time compared to season 8 and how much stuff they did this season. It feels almost criminal to say that season 3 turned out better when it's like it was just so much smaller than all the stuff they did this season. So maybe I put season 8 like 3rd on the list. Granted, we just saw it, and over time we'll have to see how we feel about it in a couple years or something. But they did do a lot of stuff this season. The Carl add-in was crazy. Kind of the Red-Eyed Rick stuff where they showed it earlier and they showed kind of this dream and this ideal. And then later on, as we saw the war play out, they kind of came back to it. It was really well done. And, they did, considering that it's going to be a full season, considering it's just a TV series and they did 16 episodes, some extended, I think they did a great job of All Out War. I personally was not disappointed with the season as a whole. I just think that the series has been going for so long and so many things have happened over the years and they're doing so many episodes. They did pass their 100 episode milestone in the premiere. Now they're at 115 episodes, The Walking Dead, at 40 plus minutes every episode. That's a lot of content, and I think they really did a damn job this season, and it's one of the better seasons of The Walking Dead, even though, like I said, the viewers don't exactly reflect that. That's what I think, when I look at what they did this year. They certainly did a lot, and, that's kind of where I'd place it. But for sure for you guys, there's no right or wrong here. This is subjective. Where do you place The Walking Dead Season 8? Do you think it's the best season they've ever done? Do you think it's like me, somewhere middle ground? Or do you think that it's one of actually the worst seasons? Do you think like Season 1 and 2, even though they were shorter and did a lot more with less, do you think that maybe because of the emotional impact they were better and kind of the care that was taken with them was better? Or do you think it's just kind of, because of the times and they've done so much that to get the same emotional response or same reaction, they have to do like so much. They can't just have a zombie herd. They got to have like a huge war and a zombie herd and these different stories happening at once and, fighting amongst the group with Maggie turning here at the end on the others. Let me know what you guys think. Those are kind of my thoughts on Season 8 in comparison to the other seasons. I'd put it 3rd, maybe 4th, depending on my mood, I guess, and depending on, how I look at things in Season 3 compared to Season 8. So let me know what you guys think. Leave your comments below. Where do you rank it? No right or wrong. And how do you feel about the season now that it's over? Of course, we'll have lots more videos coming for you guys in this next week or two. And we will do a proper review of each episode here and give more in-depth thoughts on the season after I watch it one more time this week, probably next week for that. If you like this video, please thumb it up below. You can share, you can favorite, and if you're new and you want to subscribe to the channel, I would appreciate it. And you can do it. You can subscribe at the bottom left. That's it for this one. See you guys again soon for another video. As always, it's Trev, and I'm saying peace. Later, guys. See you soon. Well, I hope you're wearing your subscribing pants.
What?
Your subscribing pants. Because you're going to subscribe to this channel wearing those pants.